What's going on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV, and today we're going to talk about how crazy the price of travel has gotten. As you guys know, I've been traveling around the world pretty much mostly full time. Started out like part time, 6 months per year, and now I'm full time travel for the last 3 years, living out of a suitcase and a backpack. That's all I got. But no car, and I do have a house, but it's rented out. That's something I got to maintain a physical address. So I own a house, but I rent it out. Now, here's the thing travel has gotten expensive in the United States and in Europe. Most of the developed world has just gotten crazy expensive. Flights have gone up in price, food costs have gone up in price. And, it makes you wonder, is it worth it to travel full time? And how can you make sense of it uh, in this day and age? Because it seems like they're trying to, lower the tourism barrier to entry. It's almost like they want less tourists out there, and they want the ones that are tourists to actually spend more money, and that kind of cuts out the average Joe. That's guys like us and ladies like you and whoever's out there trying to travel the world full time and do see the world. That's what we're all trying to do, it seems like, but they're making it harder for us with the prices. So we're going to talk about this in this video as we wait for people to come on. Everyone's smashing up the likes. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I am now in Spain. I'm in Madrid. I just went to Barcelona. And, as I'm traveling around, I'm looking at the prices and I'm like, man, how can we make this work? Now, I do have some tips that I'm going to give you at the end of the video or after the spiel, talking about how I would save money, because there are some pockets that I enter into, like some time warps where I'm like, wow, I'm actually saving money and this is more cost effective. Now, as a traveler, that's only good if you're staying in that place or if you're going from one place to another, but you still got to pay for the transportation to get there, which is quite hefty. So really at that point in time, you're just living in a place. You're not really traveling. So we're talking about traveling. We're not talking about finding cheap places. Like, I mean, there's places in Philippines, in the province, or in rural Thailand or Vietnam where you can find great prices. You can even find it in like Latin America and Ecuador and stuff like that. But really, if you're trying to travel, you're going to get hit with hotel costs, transportation costs, and, going in and out of big cities as your transport, or going through as a transit person, going through Bangkok, for example, or Phuket, where the prices have gone up, even in Thailand, or Saigon and Ho Chi Minh City, or something like that. But the big thing that I think you guys need to be looking for as travelers is value. Where do you get the most bang for your buck? And I don't know who would say that the US is of value added at this stage in the game, but I would say right now the US is pretty much cooked in terms of value. I can't really think of a single place in the United States where you can find good value. Is it going to be Florida? No. I mean, in Florida, you're going to get some old rundown hotel on the beach that was built 40 years ago and cost $300 a night. Yeah, you can maybe find a Motel 6 a little bit off the beach, but that's like not a really good option. If you're talking transport, you're not going to be able to take a bus around. I mean, who's going to ride a Greyhound? Okay, so riding a Greyhound isn't really an option. You could ride FlexBus, but that's not really, or FlixBus, whatever it's called. It's not really a step up. You could take an Amtrak in some situations, but that's not really an efficient way to travel. So pretty much, traveling the U.S. isn't an option. So you have to leave the U.S. Okay, so where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Europe, Asia, Australia? Well, it seems like at this stage in the game, Asia is really the only one that's got the value right now. And I just went to China, as you guys know. I went around to all like about 12 of the mega cities in China, from Shenzhen to Chongqing, Guangzhou, Chengdu, Shanghai. And I found value in pretty much all of those places. China is just kind of like a whole nother reality, though. I mean, it's not like you're going to find in the West. You have to relearn a lot of the situations. I mean, they don't even use cash there. Like being here in Europe, I'm starting to use cash again. Europe is still using cash, and they have totally different systems in every location. Like Spain does things different than France. France does things different than Italy. Switzerland does things different than Germany. I mean, it's just really kind of unique how just small Europe is, but how every country is doing things differently, and it's kind of inconvenient Whereas in China, you're going to get a lot more value for a lot lower price. And it's once you figure it out, it's quite convenient. So the big thing that I need to say about the travel, with the gas prices being high, the global uncertainty, that's another big thing that makes travel, not really worth it. Like, all it takes is a tweet or like a wake up where someone's like, "Hey, we're storming or sieging this government, or we're knocking out this government," and then you're like, "Wow, okay, where am I at right now in this part of the world? Are people going to judge me? Are they going to have a problem with me?" So it's not just the money, but it's also the geopolitical tension that keeps popping up pretty much everywhere you go. I mean, even when I come to Spain, I have to see what the president said about Spain 3 months ago, and how protests in Barcelona are kicking off, where they're trying to say, get the Americans out of here or something like this. So, this kind of stuff pops up. But I would say the big thing is, if you're going to travel right now, I would say you're going to aim for Asia or maybe Latin America, and not all of Latin America, because Latin America can be dangerous and it can also be inconvenient. And there's like a tourist tax kind of lumped in there. Let me see who's tuning in here, liking the video. Thank you to everyone who's liking the video. And let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear, by the way, if you're tuning in, and let me know what time it is where you're watching from. But yeah, so if we're going to start traveling, the thing that I'm looking for is ease of transportation, high speed rail. And right now, a lot of that's in Asia. They have that here in Spain. I took the high speed rail from Barcelona to Madrid, and it was really efficient. But where they're actually getting me is on the hotels. For a basic hotel, I'm paying about $250 to $300 a night for a basic hotel. It's not like some high end hotel, 5 star. I mean, that's just the basic price for a hotel in Barcelona or Madrid. And, people are going to say, "Oh, well, why don't you do this and that?" Well, it is what it is. Food, I mean, it's $15 a meal, easy. Accommodation, I just talked about that. Transportation, if I wanted to take that train, or I did take the train from Barcelona to Madrid, it cost about $100. So it's not in Europe. I mean, Paris, Amsterdam, the only way, I guess, if you wanted to travel Europe where you're going to find the most value, you're going to have to go to like Slovenia, Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia. I mean, that's where you're going to find the value, but it's so boring there. It's so boring. Like, you're almost going to be there and be like, "Well, why did I come here?" And I know people are going to say, "Oh, well, Serbia's got this, and Bosnia's got this." Yeah, that's great, but it's really kind of boring. I mean, you've seen it, and then you want to leave after like 2 or 3 days. There's not much really keeping you there. So Asia, though, it's got the ease of convenience. And I would say right now, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, China, those are like the big values. Malaysia is also in there. And outside of that, I don't even think travel's as fun as it used to be, just because it's gotten so expensive. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how expensive it is. The only way you can really justify it is if you're day trading or trading crypto or stocks. Crypto obviously is way down, Bitcoin's way down, but stocks have been up. So if you're making a lot of money, and then money's not really an issue because you're successful with that, or you got like some online gig where you're making a lot of money and it doesn't matter how much you're paying, then maybe that's a good, then it doesn't matter how much it costs to travel, right? But as it stands right now, I would just say that it's gotten to a point where it's getting very expensive. I mean, Santorini, the Greek islands, some of those islands used to be a great value. I love the Greek islands, but once it gets to a price point where you're paying $300 for a basic Airbnb, and then you got to pay cleaning fees, and you can't even really find a good hotel because it's an island, and it's just expensive. Iceland's another place. It's filled to the brim with tourists, and the prices have shot up. I mean, Barcelona, for example, I was on the apps. I was looking at like $800 to $1,000 a night hotels on like the Marriott app, consistently. The Hilton app was expensive. Yeah, sure. I did find some hotels that were 250, but seeing $800 to $1,000 a night for a hotel, basic hotel that should really only be $300 a night max, it's crazy. And then, like I was saying, that's Europe, whether it's Paris, I mean, a lot of the infrastructure in Europe is old. Sure, they have faster trains, but if you go back to the US, like I was saying, places like Hawaii, I mean, you're pretty much priced out of Hawaii. I mean, why would you go to Hawaii at this point when you could go to the Philippines and, if you're looking for beaches, the only thing you could get in Hawaii is basically, just American tropical beaches. That's what you're basically paying for. So it is like if you want to pay for tropical beaches and be in America, yeah, sure, you could pay, $500 a night and go to Hawaii, go to Oahu, go to Honolulu, go to Maui. Great. Get a rental car, pay $200 a day, $300 a day because prices for that have gone up. I mean, how can you justify that? You can't really. Um, Even Dubai. Like Dubai in the summertime used to be like a hack, right? You could get cheap luxury in Dubai and it's gone up in price. Even with the war going on, like I couldn't believe it how expensive Dubai is. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that many Russians have kind of just like set up these enclaves in places like Phuket, Bali, and I guess a lot of the Russians are just trying to avoid the war. So they've left Russia so they don't get drafted into the war and they kind of live in those places like Bali, Dubai, and Thailand, and that's kind of driven up the prices as well. But I did tell you that I would talk about some of the places where I found cheap, uh, like living and traveling kind of variety. And the big one that comes up right now, Thailand, like places like Hua Hin, Chumpon. Those are nice places. You can get a laid back kind of vibe, and it's pretty chill in that area of the Thailand, but all over Thailand, outside of Bangkok and Phuket, Koh Samui. If you go to those places, Krabi prices are high, but you get outside of those places, you can find good vibes in Thailand. You can still kind of find it in Mexico, but Mexico's gotten actually kind of aggressive towards tourists. They've done protests and they've said like, get out of our country, gringo. They're kind of returning the favor that the Americans have been doing to Mexicans in America. Now the Mexicans are doing it to the Americans. So it's kind of like gotten hostile. And again, that's that geopolitical stuff. But I'm just trying to think to myself, like, is travel even really budget friendly at this point? Because wages haven't gone up, but prices have gone up in some cases like 30 to 40% on average, but even double in most cases, like Iceland, double, Santorini, double, Hawaii, double. Hawaii's always been expensive, but it's gotten even more crazy expensive. And then you have to deal with over tourism. Like if you're going to go on vacation, you want to relax. You want to feel like you're recharging. Are you feeling that when you're going to places like Barcelona, Venice, Amsterdam, even Bali, Phuket? Are you feeling like it's a vacation? Because, if you're going there for 7 to 10 days, are you coming back recharged? Or are you coming back being like, dang, I need a vacation from my vacation? Our tour is ruining the destinations. And so, I mean, these are all things that people who travel have to think about. Should cities charge visitor taxes? I mean, visitor taxes in some places, like here in Spain, I was looking at the invoice, through the roof, man. It's crazy. Ninja says European prices are more expensive than those in Asia. Oh, by a long shot. Yeah, I mean, Spain, I guess, is the number two most visited country in the world. It's a nice country. It's got a lot of history. It's got good food. Oh my gosh, the food is so good in Spain. Europe has some really good food and it's good quality. It's walkable, it's got history, but it's gotten really crowded and really expensive. I mean, even in Barcelona, like, I was down there in places around Casa Batlo or whatever it's called, Casa Batlló, maybe that's what it's called. The Park Güell, Sagrada. I mean, getting in there is really tough. They got these apps that they don't even sell tickets, right? They don't have a ticket booth counter. You have to download the app. So you have to have, Wi-Fi or cellular data, and the Wi-Fi outside is not very good. And then you have to have, you have to like download the app, wait the 3 minutes that it takes to download this big, bulky, clunky app. And then you got to sign up for the account, put all your information in there. And then you got to like put your credit card information because most of them don't even use like Apple Pay. And then they charge you like 15 to 20 euros, which, the US dollar and the euro doesn't have parity. I mean, the euro is a stronger currency than the dollar, apparently. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly why that is. Just because, I mean, what does Europe really produce? I mean, maybe they produce some stuff like Mercedes and Airbus, but I mean, still, what's their economy really produce that justifies being stronger currency than the US? I don't know. I guess something. But either way, it is what it is. But the way they do it is just so inconvenient, and each place has its own app. Like Casa Badio has its own app, Park Güell has its own app, La Sagrada has its own app. I'm just giving you an example of what I saw in Barcelona. Madrid isn't quite as bureaucratic as what I was seeing in Barcelona, but I mean, on top of the high prices, you're dealing with a ton of bureaucracy. At least in China, yeah, they have a little bit of funkiness. Like, your ID card is your uh, it is your ticket in most cases, and that can be a little bit kind of annoying because you're like, just give me a ticket, give me a QR code and a ticket. Why do you always need my passport every time I'm going in and out of things? But at least it's kind of systematic and it's consistent across the board. It's not like each city and each country is going to have its own app or its own thing. Just give you an example. In Barcelona, if you want to ride a bike, they've got Bolt, they've got Bird, they've got Uber, Lime, they've got all these different bike apps, right? Well, that's okay. Some of them work. I mean, if I've got an Uber account, I know I can get that. If I got a Bolt account, I know I can get that. If I got a Bird account, I know I can get that. Those other apps, like the local ones, like the local Barcelona one, like they don't even let you sign up. But you come to Madrid, they've got Mad Bike or Mad Bici or something like that. It's like Mad Bicycle, which is Madrid Bicycle. It's just short for it. It's called Mad Bici. And it's trying to sign up for that account like takes like it took me a day and a half to be able to sign up for the account because it says, "What's your phone number?" I put it in there and it's supposed to text me a confirmation code. It doesn't sign up. So it was just very inconvenient. And then I guess the system like kind of triggered an email to be sent to where I was able to finally verify my account through the email. But it never gave me an option to do that. Otherwise, I would have done that in the first place. But I had to like manually put in my credit card information. It didn't use Apple Pay and all this stuff. And by that time, I'm already ready to leave Madrid because I want to go to the next place. I'm only going to do 2 days in Madrid. Like 3 days in Madrid, I guess I could do it, but I only really want to be here for 2 days. Same with Barcelona, 2 or 3 days is enough. So by the time you figure out how to use their systems and how the city's set up, you're already ready to leave. That's another thing that's not very convenient or worth it. Someone said, "I'm from Brazil and intend to go to China. How about Costa?" What Costa? Costa what? So yeah, go to China. That'll be a fun experience. I mean, it's a wild ride. It's good. It's good experience. Great food, friendly people, high speed rails, awesome, and not too expensive. But I don't know what you mean, Costa Rica, or you mean cost? You mean how about the cost? I don't know because Costa and cost. I don't know. Someone said, "I find Thailand, there is always an affordable, decent hotel you still find about anywhere, even though prices have gone up in the last 3 years." Yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, even in Bangkok, you could still probably find like a $30 to $40 hotel. In Phuket, it's getting kind of thin. Koh Samui, it's getting kind of thin. I mean, you'd have to go outside of peak season because during peak season, oh my gosh, it's crazy. But Thailand's one of those places that's cracking down on low quality tourists, and they're trying to ramp it up. By the way, guys, if you guys like these podcast videos, I do have Island Hopper TV podcast. It's a whole nother channel. You guys can search it or go onto our homepage and just see our associated channels, and you guys can watch or sign up, follow, subscribe to Island Hopper TV podcast. In case you're wondering why my eyes look like this, it's because it is 7 p.m., but I've been chilling over in Asia for basically the last year. And I went from Asia to Australia. I didn't really go outside of that time zone. So right now it's technically like 1 or 2 in the morning where I was 4 days ago. And I'm still a little bit jet lagged, even though it's 7 p.m. here in Madrid. It's still sunny out. Like Madrid gets like the sun goes down like 10 o'clock in Madrid. That's kind of cool, I guess. But I mean, the way it looks right now, I mean, I guess I could show you. Let me see if I can show you. That's what it looks like outside my window. Okay. It's like bright at 7 p.m. Where else are you going to see that, right? Someone says, "Any hotel recommendation in Barcelona or Madrid?" Well, I mean, in Barcelona, if you're going to go there, I mean, it's okay for 2 days. And if you've never been there, it can be quite exciting. But no, I don't have any hotel recommendations in Barcelona because it's pretty much all expensive. I wish I did have a hotel recommendation. I still stayed at the Hilton there, and the first 2 nights it was during the weekday, so I was paid like 285 for it, and it wasn't in a good location. I was, nothing about it was good. It didn't live up to the standards of like the Hilton in like say Bangkok or Singapore or anywhere else like that. I mean, it was the lounge was not very quality. I mean, it had like very limited stuff there in the lounge. The room was so small. I mean, this is a decent sized room actually compared to what I was staying at in Barcelona. But for that price, no. I mean, but the thing is, I was going to stay one more night, but the price like doubled. It went from 285 to like 580 for the weekend. I was like, I'm out, man. I'm not going to pay that. So I was like, how much? I was like, let me get the next train to Madrid. So I took the Madrid. Now, if you're going to stay in Madrid, you could either stay around like Atocha, which is the train station. That's a good area actually. And then I'm staying in the Gran Via area. That's a good area also. So Madrid, I actually prefer Madrid over Barcelona. I used to like Barcelona more than Madrid, but the thing that happened in Barcelona was I felt like the first time I ever went to Barcelona was 2015. I went again in 2018, and then I hadn't gone for a while, and now I'm back after basically almost 10 years. Well, yeah, 8 years, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Either way, I would say that a lot of the attractions, like the parks and stuff, there's two things that I'm going to say. Number one is things had gone down in quality, like fountains were no longer working. Things just looked a lot more weathered and aged and just not good quality. But also now, like La Rambla was under construction. La Sagrada was closed because they just put the Tower of Jesus up there, which is cool. The Pope went there and everything. That was actually done like the day before I arrived. And then, but the thing in Barcelona is like there's a lot of construction right now. And so, but the other places they still need it because they're looking very dilapidated. Like Park Güell was still in good shape. Casa Batlló was looked like it had improved. But I mean, it is what it is. Someone said, considering a trip to China, I have dual American and Irish citizenship. Would it be easier to permit Irish? No, it doesn't matter. They in China, they don't like look down on you for having an American passport. I don't know I think it's probably better actually for visa reasons, maybe if you use your Irish one, because US still needs like the 10-year visa. Do you have the 10-year visa? If you don't have the 10-year visa, maybe you have better visa options with Ireland and the EU than you would with the US passport. But as far as like anything with like, people wondering anything about, they don't really care. Chinese don't really, they're not like Americans where they're like, like, oh, you're from there, huh? Yeah, they don't really do that. Yeah, they kind of do, I guess, but it's not anything bad. Someone said, everything is okay. American passport is also acceptable. We like it very much. Yeah. So I'm assuming he's from China and he's giving you advice. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming us to China. Someone said, so yeah, as far as Barcelona or Madrid, I don't really have too much hotel. I would say I was going to stay at the AC hotel. It seems like IHG is like, because I use the chain hotels because you get points. And yeah, I mean, IHG is generous with the points. They also have like the Holiday Inn Express seems to be clutch. They also have like laundry in there, Holiday Inn Express. And I mean, if you're just looking for a bed that's comfortable with good AC and consistent pricing and a brand that gives you good point rewards, like I have like almost 500,000 points with IHG. Okay. They're just giving me points left and right. I haven't even started using them, but I was like, because the prices are pretty decent for IHG. So that IHG is like Staybridge, Hotel Indigo, Holiday Inn Express, Intercontinental if you wanted the high end one. I don't really stay at Intercontinentals, but I stay at that Holiday Inn Express in Singapore. I stay at them in other big cities. Like I would stay at Holiday Inn Express in Tokyo. I am starting to use Accor more. Now, as far as like boutique hotels, the reason I tend to avoid those is because, I'm not saying they're bad, But with the boutique hotels, you could get either, it's hit or miss. You could either just strike it rich and get the gold mine, or you could get like, something where you're like questioning whether they changed the sheets. you know, that's the thing with those like boutique, like one offers. So it's like if you go with the chain hotels, you get consistency, you got status. If there's ever an issue, they know you, so they're like they respect your loyalty. And I could say different things about Hilton or Marriott, or Marriott's on the high end. In China, I only stayed at Marriott's. There were great prices, good values. But when I leave China, I'm like, oh man, Marriott's not a good value anymore. Hilton's kind of like middle of the road. They're really consistent. IHG, I didn't even stay at a single IHG in China. But when I go outside, I go to places like Thailand. I'll stay in like IHG. I'll stay in IHG in Singapore. So each country has like its own like favorability. When I'm in the US, I always stay at Hyatt's. When I'm outside of the US, I never stay at Hyatt. Someone said, I plan on using Hyatt in China, 5K to 7K points. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I didn't use any Hyatt in China. I didn't even look at the app because this year I've actually used 0 Hyatt. Last year, I was able to maintain my status, not the lowest one, but the one up above that. Although this year I'll probably lose it. I ended up like trading Hyatt for Accor because when I was in Hong Kong, I was staying at the Novotel. It was like a perfect hotel at the Novotel. I could tell you where to stay in Hong Kong. That would be at the Novotel in Wan Chai, around there. Good food options and everything. Someone said, can you explain the coming on and out of China with 240-hour visa? Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't do the 240-hour visa because I have the 10-year visa. But I would say that yeah, well, when I arrived, they thought I was going to actually redeem it. They have like a special booth in Shenzhen. For example, if you go from Hong Kong to Shenzhen, you come into the border right there at Luhao or Futian or something like that. And they have like an office upstairs. There was no line waiting. And they were just like, do you want the transit visa? And I was just like, no, I have the 10-year visa. And they were like, oh, downstairs. So I was like going to the wrong place, but that was where it was like a special little like area where you would go for that. Someone said, IHG and Marriott, you will get a comfy bed. In a boutique hotel bed could be very uncomfy. Yeah, exactly. Although sometimes IHG, they jack up the pillow situation. They like, here I am staying at a Marriott here. This is I'm not going to say the name of the hotel because I don't want people to know exactly where I am. I'll tell you like on another day. But they got good. Marriott always has comfortable pillows. I've never had a hotel with a Marriott where they didn't have comfortable pillows. I have had uncomfortable pillows at IHG more than once. Hilton, good pillows. Hyatt, good pillows. IHG, that's the only one area where they need to improve. I don't know what they're doing with the pillows different, but they need to work on that. So we'll see what ends up happening. Someone says, traveling costs way too much, even in the USA. I want to travel. Oh, Vegas, Orlando. Yeah, I mean, I'm done with Vegas pretty much. I think. I mean, I never say never, but like last time I was in Vegas, the prices that I was paying, you'll look on the app, it'll say like you can get a really good deal in Vegas, right? For like $50 a night. And then you find out there's a tourist resort fee and all these other extra fees. So really you're paying 2 or 3 times the price. Even if you're flying on like a budget airline like Spirit, they would just went out of business, but Frontier or a Allegiant or some other like budget carrier in the US, that you think you're paying like $100, but then you got to get there, you got to pay for your suitcase, you got to pay for your bag, and it's like double the price. So it's like, oh wow, hidden fees. Like those should be like not even allowed. Like that shouldn't be allowed to like market your hotel for like $50 a night and then charge the guest 150, and then market your airline price for like $35 and then charge the guest 185. It's like, come on, like you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You guys have seen that. Vegas is notorious for doing those kind of like price misconceptions. Because that's one of the reasons you think you want to go to Vegas. You're like, oh man, I'll stay at the New York for $55 a night. But yeah, right. You're paying like 185 or 150 on the low end. I mean, it's like, oh, okay, I see how you do it. And then when you get there, it's like the food is like $25 to $30 a plate. Like $5 steak. Like, dude, that was the 80s, man, the 90s. That doesn't even exist anymore. You cannot find a $5 meal in Vegas. I mean, maybe in Fremont Street, I guess, maybe. Um, Not even worth it. Orlando, I kind of like Orlando, but it's getting old. Like if I want a good hotel, I guess I stay at the Aloft in Orlando in the downtown area. But Orlando, oh, they haven't like built any new hotels there for a while. Um, and all the new ones, they're like away from all the good areas. Like the Sheraton down there is in a great area, but it's a terribly old hotel. They need to just tear that thing down by now. That's the thing with the US. Like a lot of the hotels were built in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Great when they opened, but by now in 2026, I mean, it's like your favorite baseball team's stadium, it was like built in 1996. It was the best stadium ever. Like I come from Phoenix, it was called Bank One Ballpark. Nowadays, it's like, it needed a renovation, even like our Sun Stadium or arena. So I mean, that's kind of the same thing with hotels. Like when they first opened, they were great. So a lot of these destinations like Bangkok and Dubai, they're building everything new. Same with China. Like all their stuff is new. Okay. Like their trains. It's like New York subway. Nah, you don't even want to ride that. Like, can you name a subway in the United States that you like? That's like a world's class, like standard subway? New York, Chicago, BART. I was thinking about, I was like, what's my favorite like metro system in the US? I was like, maybe it's BART, maybe Bay Area Rapid Transit in San Francisco is the best. And that's not really good by global standards. I mean, every city in China like exceeds that. Singapore exceeds it, and like, it is what it is, right? Like, name one metro system in the US that you're like, that's great. Was it Boston? Well, I guess Boston's okay. Um, couldn't really tell you one, guys. Can you? Chicago? No. Is it safe? Um, I mean, yeah, if you like riding light rail, I guess Phoenix has a nice little light rail, but it's not really useful. Vegas, do they have a light rail? Yeah, they have a light rail, monorail or something, but is it useful? Not really. Someone said I was in Vegas in January for CES. The town was dead. Luckily, I was able to stay at the Four Queens at Fremont Street and avoided the resort fees. Hey, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Fremont Street is actually maybe better than the Strip these days. On the Strip, they're just trying to bring in and overcharge you. Like, it's a legacy city. Vegas is a legacy city. Like, what made Vegas amazing was you could get a good, fun time for a decent price. And yeah, you might gamble and you might lose some money, but hey, at least you weren't feeling like you were getting ripped off on the amenities, right? Nowadays, you feel like you're getting ripped off on the amenities. Someone said, will you stay in China for 240 hours? Then where will you go? Well, I don't stay in, I have a 10-year visa, so I get 60 days with that. And you could get the 10-year visa. Like, I can renew it in Hong Kong. That would be where I would probably go for number one, just because it's right next to China. So it might be faster and just more convenient. But you could probably also do it in Singapore. You could probably do it in Thailand, Kuala Lumpur. You could probably do it. I got a year and a half left on that. And I don't really have any plans just yet for when I'm going to go back to China, hopefully soon, but I don't really have one right now. I'm hoping that geopolitical tensions kind of can, normalize. I don't know. The MARTA in Atlanta is pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was in downtown Atlanta and I was thinking about going into that subway and I was about to walk down there. And then I was like, nah, it looks like some shady characters standing outside of that. I mean, I'm being serious. Like, I was around, I think I stayed at was it the Grand Hyatt or was it the Hyatt Regency? I think I stayed at the Hyatt Regency and I was going to walk over there because I was going to take the MARTA, as you call it. And there was just some shady characters outside. And I was like, I'm not going to really deal with that. No, and when I say shady characters, I'm talking about like people yelling at other people, like getting ready to fight, like yelling. Like, that's the thing with Atlanta is like, there'll be people in the downtown area in Atlanta just like yelling randomly at other people. Sometimes people that they know and sometimes people they don't know. I mean, that's very common in the US. You don't really see that in Europe. You don't really see that in Asia. But in the US and like the big cities like Los Angeles, New York, I mean, I've seen, I don't know what's going on what is it in the water out there? Or what is it that's making people just rage like that, where they just yell? Like, people who sleep, just random people, just like in the downtown areas, just yelling at random strangers or yelling at some person who they're fighting with, and it's just like an unstable situation. And with those people, you never know like how what's got them on that edge like that, where they're just about to they're a ticking time bomb, like a loose cannon. Someone said, the thing that I worry about most is the geopolitical tensions. Yeah, I mean that okay, so on that subject, for me at least, I've had it happen where a lot of that, well, China is a perfect example of the geopolitical tensions holding me back from wanting to go there. But a lot of it is in your head. It's in your head. It's worse than it really is in reality. Another perfect example of that is even coming out here to Spain from Bangkok. I had a layover in Doha. Obviously, if you watch the news over the last like 60 days, you know what Doha or Kuwait or Dubai, with missiles. Even the day that I was there, the U.S. launched airstrikes against Iran. Like that night, and they hadn't done that for like a couple weeks, so it'd been pretty calm. And the night that I was there, like we were on the runway, and they said airspace on board the aircraft. We've just been told by air traffic control that we're delayed. We don't know how long it's going to take. And there's an airspace closure, so we're delayed. We're just kind of waiting on the tarmac. Thankfully, it only took 30 minutes, but then the next day I get back into my hotel and I look online and it's like the U.S. bombed like 3 different, places. But being in that airport, you wouldn't even know there was a war going on like that. The airport was like business as usual. So, I mean, it's kind of like one of those things. I mean, I almost felt like I could go out into Doha. I felt like I could go in Qatar. That airport's a beautiful airport, by the way. That place is like that there. You won't find an airport like that in the U.S. on that standard. I mean, you go in their lounges. Let me just tell you, like, it's pretty easy to get lounge access in Qatar. I'm assuming it's pretty easy. At least every time I've been there, I've had lounge access to like these different lounges, Al Maha or whatever they're called. I mean, inside there, they give you, okay, with that lounge access, you get your own room with a bed, okay? Then they got like a shower. Everything's like, they got like staff there that cleans up everything. That the staff is very professional and well behaved. I mean, it's like very safe in Qatar as in terms of like walking around. Same with Dubai. It's like safer than any American city. It's like, I don't know. I mean, so it's kind of like the geopolitical tensions thing. Yeah, it has held me up. It has been in my mind. And sometimes the longer I stay in the US, like if I stay in a place for 3 or 4 months, or if I'm chilling in a place and I'm watching the news, oh man, I'll be just like, I can't go. I was like, I don't even know how I traveled before. I was like, but then when I start traveling, I'm back in the routine. I'm going in and out of airports. I'm just more in the flow. And so once I'm in the flow, it's just like second nature to just go, go, go. But once I'm like chilling in front of the TV or in front of the computer and I'm just looking at the news, I'm like, oh man, the whole world around me is like World War III, man. So I would say the hardest part is just getting started. But once you get the wheels in motion, it's kind of like, you're just going. That's been my experience. Someone says Thailand is the best. Yeah, it is. As of right now, it pretty much is. Like I was thinking about going to Vietnam or the Philippines. I'm just like, no, I was like, man, Thailand is still pretty good. And the thing is, they're changing a lot too. So I mean, you can't get comfortable. I always see these people. They're like, I left the U.S. and I'm never going back. I'm like, you sure about that? Because you never know about what the way things are changing. I mean, And if you're a guest in the country, you don't have permanent residency or you don't have that visa that says you're allowed to be there long term, you haven't left the US. You're just still like, you're just a long term vacationer. Any country like that, because all it takes is one war or one like shift in political ideology or a new prime minister or a new party to take power, and things can change real quick. I mean, if you were born in the US, you're probably anywhere you go, you can't really bank on it. I mean, ask people in Ecuador, ask people in Peru, ask people in Costa Rica. Like everyone thought the Costa Rican dream was forever, and now they're finding out like they're getting chased out of Costa Rica in some regards. Like you'll hear people saying like it's not safe in Costa Rica anymore, in the places like Nosara or Samara, places that used to be safe. Like it's just lawlessness is kind of broken out. So this idea that like, oh, I left the US and I'm never coming back. I think anyone who says that's crazy. Like even myself, if I'm sitting there in my mind, I'm like, oh, US is cooked, I'm never going back. I wouldn't be the one who'd say that, because I could see how things can change real quick. And all it takes is just a change in political party. Like, you get one guy who comes in and he's like, we're changing everything. We're kicking out the foreigners. The foreigners are the problem. That's what these countries also like to do. They've done it in Spain. They're doing it in Thailand too. All it takes is a few bad apples to ruin the whole orchard. You'll see a lot of people, they're out there, getting in fights and doing all these naughty behaviors, and they're caught on TikTok, and that TikTok video gets shared all across, and they're like, see, this is what foreigners are doing. And all it takes is one guy. Like there was this Aussie, he was in Vietnam. He like tore up some cafe. He just went crazy. Some young guy just went crazy. Like they had him on CCTV, just taking chairs and throwing them at computers and throwing them at the desk, and just going crazy in there. And that video goes all across Vietnam. Okay. And then the next guy, he's out there, he's caught on camera, he's beating up some moped guy because he got off his moped, parked his moped, and starts beating up the moped guy in Vietnam. That gets shared. So, you have that happen. And then 1 week later, that another one, and all these people are saying, oh man, the Vietnam's so much better than the US. I'm never going back. It's like, you sure about that? Because once those videos go and the public sentiment shifts to where the tourists are the problem, because tourists always get blamed, or the foreigner always gets blamed, even in the US. Who are they blaming? The foreigner. Other countries do the exact same thing. They always like to blame the foreigner. So, never get too comfortable thinking that everything's going to stay the same. And that's why I say things are changing, because, the one thing I will say about COVID, yeah, we went into that period where it was like lockdowns and everything was like locked down, and, couldn't really travel freely, and you needed to wear a mask pretty much all the time. But by the time they lifted that, a lot of the countries, Indonesia, well, Bali, Thailand, Koh Samui, Bangkok, they were just welcoming tourists back with open arms. They were like, we've missed you guys. They missed your money, of course. They missed the work, because a lot of them were, up in Isan or out in the province or something without any work. And then when the floodgates opened and the tourists were allowed back, here comes the money, here comes the work. Everyone's happy. That was cool. That was the honeymoon phase for about a year and a half. But after that honeymoon phase is over, everyone's just like, oh man, here comes they start looking at the problems. They forget about what it was like not to have the tourist dollars, and then they start pointing the finger, and that's kind of what's been going on. Yeah, Barcelona's safe. Like that's the thing. Like you see these videos of people saying like, "Oh, Barcelona is so dangerous," or "Madrid's so dangerous," "Europe is so dangerous." I mean, one place I would say that's probably the most dangerous would be around like the train station in Paris. That's a little bit of a sketchy situation in Paris. But I didn't see anything really. I mean, I know that Barcelona does have some crime. Just to tell you how safe Barcelona is, there was actually a shooting that happened like a few days ago, maybe like 5 days ago, and there was someone killed in a shooting. And people were like so shocked about it. They were like, oh my gosh, this never happens here. And really, it doesn't happen very often. Like violent crime doesn't really happen in Barcelona. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, in my hometown in Phoenix or in the US, there's a shooting like 3 or 4 a day. Like every day, there's like some shooting. In Barcelona, it happens one time like 4 or 5 days ago, and everyone's shook up. Just to give you an idea of like kind of like how. So like I don't know where you're watching from. Maybe you're watching from the US or someplace. And so I'm just putting that in perspective. I mean, like you can look at violent crime. Now, the thing is, they talk about pickpocketing or scams. I haven't had anyone try and scam me here in Spain. Like no hassling. I mean, I felt like in fact, the guys that you would expect, like they kind of loiter around the areas of like the tourist attractions. I felt like they were like in the back of their head, they were like, well, I better not like push this guy too far, like, because he might, get mad and tell someone on me. That's what I was sensing, because like there was one guy who had like these birds and he wanted me to like take a picture or something. And I could tell he was like he could have pushed it a little bit harder if he felt confident about it, but you could tell he was like knew that you can't harass tourists with the bird photo thing, otherwise they'll kick you out. So I would say that from what I could tell, I mean, aside from like those like kind of guys like that, Barcelona's pretty safe. Like, I'm sure they have pickpockets. I didn't see anything like that. Like I told you about the one violent crime that happened that rarely happens, something like that. Yeah, a few days ago there was a shooting. So we'll see, it is what it is. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us on this live stream. I can do more live streams, but I hope some of you come over to our other channel, Island Hopper TV podcast. See you over there and see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.